Hello, my name is Jordan Schreiber, and I'm the Director of Student Recruitment at Ozarks Technical Community College. Navigating the FAFSA can often seem like learning a new language. In this video, I'm going to show you how to speak the language of the FAFSA so that you can successfully fill it out and apply for financial aid. In this video, I'll be discussing how the financial aid process works, what documentation is needed to complete the FAFSA, how do you enter schools on the FAFSA to receive your information, and then how to read your student aid report and go through the verification process if you're selected. Let's get started. So turning to the financial aid process in general, no matter which school you end up choosing to attend, the process is going to look very similar. First, you will complete the FAFSA. The FAFSA is available each year on October 1st. So sometime after that date, you will complete the FAFSA. And then a few days later, you're going to receive and review your student aid report. This is going to be a general overview of the aid you may qualify for. Now, this will not include specific information from the schools you sent the FAFSA to. This is just going to be an overview that comes back from the Department of Education. So you could qualify for additional funding from an individual school, but this is going to be what you qualify for as directly related to your FAFSA. Next, you'll complete verification. This is a process that 1 in 3 is selected for, and I'm going to talk more about this towards the end of the video. So just know that you may be selected for verification, where you'll provide documentation of the information that you entered on the FAFSA, but we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. So let's assume you've made it through verification or you were not selected for verification. At that point, your schools that you sent your FAFSA to are going to use that student aid report because they also receive a copy of it, and they're going to package your award. And at that point, they're going to provide you with an award letter, an offer. So you're going to be able to review that and see what you've been offered at each school, and you'll be able to respond to the college and let them know which awards you accept or decline. So for example, you may want to receive a federal Pell Grant, which is essentially free money, but you may decline to receive a student loan. So with that award letter, the school is going to lay out there everything you qualify for, and then you get to decide which of the individual pieces you'd like to take. Finally, you'll complete all of the pending processes. Some individual awards require additional processes, but your school will let you know what you need to do to receive them. Finally, the process starts back over again each year as you renew your FAFSA. So every year that you're in school, you'll be required to fill out a new FAFSA. So turning to the FAFSA itself, FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And you may be thinking, why should I fill it out? Even though schools are pushing you to fill it out, you may be thinking, why? Well, the FAFSA is your application for financial aid. It qualifies you to receive grants, scholarships, and student loans. No matter which institution you plan to attend, the FAFSA is the basis for all financial aid. So no matter if you're going to apply for individual scholarships or other aid outside of what the FAFSA can offer, you're still going to need that FAFSA on file. So it's incredibly important, if you don't plan to pay out of pocket for your schooling, that you fill out the FAFSA. So when should you fill it out? As I mentioned before, the FAFSA is filled out annually. Each FAFSA covers an academic year. So it starts with fall, then goes to spring, and then ends with summer. So the 2020-2021 FAFSA, which we're currently in, covers fall of 2020, spring of 21, and summer of 21. The 2021-2022 FAFSA, which became available on October 1st, covers next fall of 21, spring of 22, and summer of 22. So if you are planning to start college next fall, you'll want to fill out the 2021-2022 FAFSA. If you are planning to take summer classes following high school graduation, though, you will need both FAFSAs on file. That summer semester of 21 is still on the tail end of this current FAFSA. So just keep that in mind, that if you decide to go in the summer of 21, you will need both the 2021 and the 2022 2020, 2021, and 2021, 2022 FAFSA on file. So what documentation is needed to complete the FAFSA? So as the student, you will need your social security number or alien registration number if you are not a US citizen. You'll need your driver's license if you have one. You'll need federal income tax returns, W-2s, and other records of money earned. So for the 2020-2021 FAFSA, which we're currently in, so if you decide to go in the spring of 21 or summer of 21, you would need 2018 tax information. For next fall of 2021, you would need 2019 tax information. How it works is the FAFSA goes off of what is known as prior year, meaning that it goes 2 years prior in tax records. They do this to give you ample time to get your taxes filed and completed. So each FAFSA year is going to go 2 years prior with that tax information. So for the 2020, 2021 FAFSA, which we're currently in, 2018, so 2 years prior. For next fall, the 2021 FAFSA, it'll be 2019 taxes. You'll also need an FSA ID to sign the FAFSA electronically. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit. And then just as a note, if you are a dependent student, which most of you will be, then you will also need the information listed above for your parents. The only thing your parent would not have to provide is a driver's license number. So you will need parent information, including the social security number, tax records, and your parent will also need an FSA ID. So turning to that FSA ID, what is it? It's a username and password that you must use to log into certain U.S. Department of Education websites. You need an FSA ID because it's used to sign legally binding documents electronically. Rather than going through the strenuous process of signing paper forms, the Department of Education has made it super simple to where you can actually do this all online, and it makes it much quicker. And the FSA ID is your verified electronic signature. So it's going to verify your identity to make sure it is really you, and you're going to use that to sign this documentation. To create an FSA ID, you'll go to fsaid.ed.gov. So do your parents need an FSA ID? We know the student needs one, but does the parent need one? And the answer is most likely. One parent will need an FSA ID, not both, just one. But dependent students must include parental information on the FAFSA, and both parent and student must sign the FAFSA with their FSA IDs. You may be thinking, I'm turning 18, I'm going to be out on my own. Why would I be considered a dependent? The federal student aid program is based on the concept that it's primarily you and your family's responsibility to pay for your education. A dependent student is assumed to have the support of parents, so the parents' information has to be assessed along with the students in order to get a full picture of the family's financial strength. If you're a dependent student, it doesn't mean that your parents are required to pay anything toward your education. This is just a way of looking at everyone in a consistent manner. So really the issue here is that if the Department of Education were to look at every 18-year-old exiting high school, more than likely they're not earning a very high salary. So that would not allow the Department of Education to truly help those who need help. And so the most consistent manner that they can use is to also look at parental information if a student is considered a dependent. And to determine that dependency status, the FAFSA will ask you a series of questions about the student. So dependency status will determine whose information you must report on the FAFSA. If you are considered a dependent student, you will report both you and your parents' information. If you're an independent student, you'll report your own information and your spouse's if you're married. So, do I have to provide my parents' information on the FAFSA? The FAFSA is going to ask you, as a student, a series of questions. And it may seem complicated to determine dependency, or it may just seem like an out there concept, but what's really nice about the FAFSA is it's going to guide you through that. And I have this series of questions here so you can know what to expect. So the FAFSA is going to ask you, will you be 24 or older by January 1st of the school year for which you're applying for aid? Are you married or separated but not divorced? Will you be working toward a master's or doctorate degree? Do you have children who receive more than half of their support from you? Do you have dependents other than children or a spouse who live with you and receive more than half of their support from you? Are you currently serving on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces for purposes other than training? Are you a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces? At any time since you were 13, were both of your parents deceased? Were you in foster care, or were you a ward or dependent of the court? Are you an emancipated minor, or are you in a legal guardianship as determined by the court? And finally, are you an unaccompanied youth who is homeless or self-supporting and at risk of being homeless? If you don't answer yes to any of the questions above, you're still considered a dependent student for the purposes of applying for federal student aid, even if you don't live with your parents, are not claimed by your parents on their tax forms, or are paying your own bills and educational expenses. So it doesn't matter if your parents aren't providing for your education. If you don't meet one of the qualifications that I just listed, you'll be considered a dependent on the FAFSA and will need to provide your parental information. So what is needed to create an FSA ID? Now that we've determined who's going to need one, what are you going to need to make one? So you'll need your legal name exactly as it appears on your Social Security card, your Social Security number, your birth date, email address. Now, something really important to note for students, do not use your school email address. You will fill out the FAFSA every year that you're in college and will need continued access to that email account. High schools often take away access shortly after you graduate, so you don't want to use that. You want to use like a Gmail, iCloud, Yahoo account, but you don't want to use your school email because oftentimes that's going to be shut off and you're going to need this for the next 2 to 4 or more years. You'll also need your phone number, mailing address, and then you'll also create a username and password, and you'll want to store those in a safe place. You'll need them every single year that you fill out the FAFSA, so it's very important that you hang on to that information. And you'll also want to make sure to verify both your email address and phone number when creating an FSA ID. It's going to ask you to basically, it'll send you a text message, you'll verify that you received it, or an email, and go through that way as well. Those will give you alternate ways that you can retrieve your username and password should you happen to lose it. So you definitely want to verify that information. If this is your first time filling out a FAFSA, you will click Create an FSA ID on that page. Parents, if you have filled out a FAFSA before for yourself or another child, you may already have an FSA ID. Click Manage My FSA ID to check. You can look up your account by username, email, or phone. You can also answer challenge questions to access your account. So when you go to the FSA ID creation screen, this is what you're going to see. And if you're brand new to the process, you'll just go ahead and create a username and password, and then it'll lead you through the process. If you believe you may have done this previously, you'll go to the Manage My FSA ID tab. So once you and your parent, if you need that information, have created an FSA ID, go to fafsa.ed.gov to fill out the FAFSA, and you're going to click Start Here. So once you click that, you're going to click I am the student, and you'll enter the FSA ID username and password that you created to log in. Then you'll click the appropriate FAFSA year you wish to fill out and click Start FAFSA. So as we discussed before, for spring of 2021 and summer of 2021, you'll do the 2021 or the 2020-2021 FAFSA. For next fall of 2021, you'll do the 2021-2022 FAFSA. So each one, when you click on them, will let you know what they apply to, but it's easy if you already go in knowing which one you need to fill out, or both. So once you click on the appropriate FAFSA, you're going to create a save key. This is not the same as your FSA ID. The save key allows you to return to an application or correction later from the point you left off if you need to stop and save your work. So it's just going to allow you to come back in to where you were in the FAFSA. And it must be between 4 and 8 characters long. You can use any combination of numbers or upper and lowercase letters. I use my zip code for it because it's something very simple. To get to where you enter the save key, you already have to use your FSA ID to log in. This is just getting you to where you were in the FAFSA, so it doesn't have to be something that's super secretive. It's just getting you back to where you were. So the menu at the top of the screen, so once you create that save key and go into the FAFSA, the menu at the top of your screen will show you your progress through the FAFSA. As you can see, there are many different tabs you're going to be going through. You'll want to answer questions as honestly as possible. When a question says you or your, it's always referring to the student unless it is otherwise noted. So this is being filled out from the student's perspective. Oftentimes we have families who complete the FAFSA together, and it's just really important to know this is referring to the student. If you don't understand a question, click the question mark next to the question. This can provide super helpful advice. Oftentimes, students get confused about what a question is asking for, and they don't know what to put in. It's really nice. This question mark is going to provide a lot of information for you. So for each question, it's going to provide an explanation of what it is looking for, which is super helpful. And my number one advice when you go to fill out the FAFSA and start filling in this information is to take it slowly, read thoroughly, and you'll do fine. It really is designed to be user-friendly to where it guides you to what the correct answers are, or helps you to choose what the correct answer may be for you. So just make sure you're reading everything carefully, and I know you'll be okay. So as you work your way through the FAFSA, you'll eventually get to the school selection screen, which comes after student demographics. And this is where you'll choose the schools that will receive your FAFSA. You can add up to 10 schools at a time to receive your FAFSA. So for example, if you were deciding between OTC, Missouri State, Drury, you could add all 3 schools on there to receive your FAFSA so that they can package a financial aid award for you, and you can know what you could receive when you go to that school. You can either, when you enter a school, you can either enter the school's federal school code, which you may or may not know, but also most students don't know what the federal school code is, so you can look it up. It's fairly simple. You can put in the city and state, you can put in the school name itself, and do a quick search, and it will pull up those schools. Something else to note, you can always return to this page. You can always log back into the FAFSA and add a school at a later date. So if you put OTC first or MSU first and you realize, oh, I'm going to end up going to Mizzou, you can go back in at any point and add them to your FAFSA. When you get to the screen for entering parent or student financials, so after you get through all that demographic information and select your schools, it's time to enter that tax information. And if at all possible, you're going to want to use a tool known as the IRS Data Retrieval Tool. This is a tool that links your financial information from the IRS to the FAFSA, saving you time with completing the FAFSA. This is going to transfer in all of the information from your tax return. And so you don't have to hand enter it on your FAFSA. And it also helps ensure your data is accurate and reduces the likelihood of being selected for verification. So this is something that I absolutely 100% recommend that if at all possible, use this. Now, when you link to the IRS, it's going to require you to input some information that came off of your tax return, such as your address. It seems really, really simple, but the address must match exactly as it was on your tax return from that year. So if I were filling out the FAFSA for next fall for 2021, I would want to enter the address as it is listed on my 2019 tax return. So it can often be frustrating when you know you're putting in the right information, but it can't link up. And it's often because the address isn't written exactly as it was. So if they abbreviate, you need to abbreviate. If they spell out something, spell it out. So that's just super important to know. And that could be what's tripping you up if you're not able to get it to link to the IRS. But if at all possible, you want to link to the IRS. So a question we get often is, what happens if my family's financial situation has changed significantly from what is reflected on the federal income tax return? So what if between 2019 and now I've lost a job or otherwise experienced a drop in income? You'll want to complete the FAFSA as instructed on the application, including the transfer of tax return and income information. You'll submit your FAFSA form and then contact your school you plan to attend to discuss how your current financial situation has changed. So fill it out accurately based upon that tax year, but understand that there are things that can be done to help you out and to take into consideration that your family's financial situation is not where it used to be. So for as far as it goes with the FAFSA, fill it out accurately, and then you'll want to contact the school that you're planning to attend. So if you are unable or unwilling to use the data retrieval tool, you will use your actual tax return to enter the income information manually. Each question will tell you which box to reference on your taxes. You can also click the question mark for additional information about the question or needed information. So again, that's going to be super helpful. But as you see here in this example, it's going to say, what is your adjusted gross income for 2019? It's on the IRS 1040 form, line 8B, and you'll put in which form you filled out so it knows how to appropriately direct you. And just as a little tip or trick, I know when you print out your income, your tax return, it's like 100 pages. Most of it is just worksheets that preparers use to get the information that's going to ultimately end up on your tax return. For most people, the first couple of pages are all you're going to need to refer to. Now, if you own a business or have some other maybe little outside of the norm tax situation, you may need to refer to other pieces. But for most people, the first couple of pages of the tax return are all you're really going to need to reference. So I know it can be overwhelming to have 100 pages stacked in front of you and go, I have no idea what I'm doing. Just keep in mind that you're going to want to stay with those first couple of pages, which is basically the summary of all of the stuff that is worked out behind that. So just keep that in mind and follow the information on the FAFSA for which boxes you need to reference. So at the end of the FAFSA, you'll be giving a chance to review all of the information you entered. It's going to pop up with a screen that you'll scroll down and it's going to show you everything that you entered on the FAFSA. And then at that point, you and your parent, if applicable, will then sign and submit the FAFSA. This is where your parent will enter their FSA ID. So you used your FSA ID as the student to log in. And at this point, the parent will sign by adding their FSA ID, username and password. And then once you both have signed it, you'll click submit, and it's as easy as that. So what happens next? You'll receive a Student A report, or a SAR, to the email address you entered on the FAFSA. This will usually happen about 3 to 5 days after submitting the FAFSA. If you submitted a complete application, so meaning that you didn't skip things, your SAR will include your expected family contribution. This is the number that's used to determine your eligibility for federal student aid. This number results from the financial information you provide on the FAFSA. Your SAR will also let you know if you have been selected for a process called verification. So I have here a sample SAR. student aid report just to kind of show you what it might look like. So you can see here that this student has an EFC of 001702. And based upon that, they may be eligible to receive a federal Pell Grant, another student aid, and the school is going to use that EFC to determine financial aid eligibility. You can also see here that the FAFSA has been selected for verification. And then at the bottom, you can actually see some amounts here for the federal Pell Grant of up to $4,100. So this is going to be, as I said before, a summary of what you may qualify for, and it also will give you a heads up if you've been selected for verification. So after you receive your student aid report, the schools you selected on the FAFSA will receive a copy of your student aid report as well. You gave them permission to receive it. The schools will use your SAR to determine your financial aid award package. Your school will determine what documentation is needed to complete your financial aid file. If you're selected for the process known as verification, you must provide the requested documents in order to have your award package. So verification is not optional. So every year, 1 in 3 FAFSAs are chosen for verification. It's basically a self-auditing system for how the Department of Ed makes sure that people are entering correct information on the FAFSA. And that's why using that data retrieval tool is extremely important, because it ensures the accuracy of what you entered. It makes it far less likely that you'd be picked for verification. So verification itself is when the Department of Education picks a portion of financial aid applicants to go through this process, and it's to confirm that the information you entered on the FAFSA is accurate and it is an accurate picture of your finances. You'll be notified that you've been selected by your school, and you'll see a note indicating you've been selected on your SAR. So you'll get that heads up, and then the school is actually going to tell you what documentation is needed to complete verification. It may be, it depends on the student situation, what is needed. It may be as simple as providing tax returns or a tax return transcript from the IRS. You may also have to provide additional information about your household. Ultimately, verification sounds like it's something that's very scary, but your school, no matter which school you're planning to attend, is well versed in how this process works. And we're here for you. We want to get you through this to where you can get your award. So it's not something to be alarmed by. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong, but you should take it seriously and respond quickly. So something that I often see is that students will submit their FAFSA and then not check up on the status of that with the schools that they are planning, the school they're planning to attend. So they don't know they're selected for verification until right before school starts. So they don't know what financial aid they're eligible to receive until school's already started and maybe they've already had to make a payment. So it's just incredibly important to do this process early and to stay up on it, that knowing that submitting your FAFSA is just the first step. It's not the final step to financial aid. You must check up on it to see if you need to go through verification and provide additional documentation, or if you need to accept or decline an award. So it's incredibly important that you follow up on your FAFSA with the school you're planning to attend. So wrapping things up, the information in this presentation will prepare most students and parents to fill out the FAFSA. However, we know that individuals have unique circumstances that require further guidance. We see this every day. So if you have any questions, please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out to the OTC Financial Aid Office at 417-447-6900 or financialaid@otc.edu for assistance. We are definitely here to help, and we can guide you through no matter which school you're planning to attend. But just keep in mind, as I said before, that if you approach the FAFSA with confidence, calmness, and making sure that you're reading everything carefully, I know that you've got this.